point, and they couldn't even do anything as they already died trying to cross. All right, game number 2 in the bottom left of Eternal Empire. It is the Red Zerg Dark.
In the upper right, hailing from Mexico, our Blue Terran is Special. Some glasses micro.
Yeah, I need some micro SCVs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that does take a little bit of the wind out of the sails, doesn't it? Though, like we're kind of hyping up Special a little bit. He just got a pretty clean victory in his previous series, and then it's like Dark didn't look so hot. Oh, okay, Dark just won one. Roach pushed him and won. Yeah. Oh, all right then.
I think this is the most convincing game Dark has had so far, because even on the off-stream series against Dia, there was moments where it's like, oh my god, Dark's about to die, and then Dia sieges his Prism under 8 Queens, which you pointed out, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, he should have died, but he didn't, right? But this was from the start. Where was the danger for Dark? There was none at all. He controlled the entire pacing of the game. Even those first 6 Roaches, it's like, well, they're not going to do much. And then, how long did it take to clean those up?
Yeah, and the length of time to clean stuff up is often the most important thing about it. But then also, again, making Special react, offsetting his build a bit, very important. And
Yeah,
speaking of offsetting a build, Dark does go for not just a pool, but also a gas first here, and then into that hatchery. So Special is going to be very thankful he sends an SCV out to scout this.
Yeah, SCV scout confirm it's not hatchery first, can at least give you the heads up on the Reaper as to whether you want to go across the map still or not. Eternal is the longer rush distance in the map pool, so it's not a common map to do something as aggressive as this. There's Roach-Roaring coming down. We'll see what the SCV does, because this is such an early SCV scout and such an early Roach-Roaring. You can go into the main base here of the SCV and actually scout it.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things where oh no, okay, well shoot.
Well, it's one of those weird things because the meta is to kind of not scout. You see the hatch first and you're just like, oh sorry, not hatch first, but you see the pool first because of the hatchery time, and you're just like, oh okay, pool first, back away. But you don't usually send the SCV all the way in, because usually it's not that fast a Roach-Roaring behind it, and even if it is some aggression, you're just like, okay, it could be aggression, but not necessarily this build exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Either the Reaper has to pull back because it knows what's happening, where the SCV is like, yeah, I know what's happening, and again, pulls back. But there's always that chance that you actually send it into that mineral line in the main base, and it's just like, the Zerg player's like, oh, whoops, it is. They weren't supposed to scout that, but Special not going for that main base. Instead, trying to get a little bit of an edge by blocking out the third base, hoping to turn this into his favor.
Yeah.
Is misreading the situation, unfortunately.
That's 125 minerals on that engineering bay. That is so wasted right now. Dark is so happy about this. He's like wondering, like, oh gosh darn it, you really blocked my third hatchery, haven't you? Special is just completely in the dark right now. He needs to find out about this build.
She's like, oh no, you did the thing.
You did that thing I usually would hate, but I don't
know.
know.
Are you real right now?
Yeah, this is it. Well, okay, Special is building a bunker though.
He is.
So maybe he does just have the blind feeling that it's something like this, or knows he needs to blindly prepare.
I think the engineering bay not really being emphasized on taking it down, and then no lings at all ever popping up on his natural was kind of like, oh, hold on here. So he does have a bunker on the way, and he did transfer off the factory from the barracks, so he felt this somehow. He saw it with a little bit of something, and that is very, very important, but not enough time to actually grab that Overlord, because that really does just stop this push.
Oh, yeah.
That. But still, with the bunker, with the tank, he should be able to hold. This could have been much worse, and in fact, he's even getting a medevac to provide some of the counter pressure pretty quickly.
Yeah, it also gives him a bit of micro in case that Cyclone gets in trouble, right? So that's possibly a bit of something too. But the Cyclone here, it's the right choice. It's mobile, you're not sieged up and corrosive-fileable by the Ravagers. So the Cyclone pops out, needs to come forwards and get a lock on. If you can lock onto the Overlord, amazing, because then you push back high ground vision, and it's exactly what he's going to get. And now the Ravagers can't hit up the high ground as easily, at least not onto the bunker.
I definitely said tank out of habit. That was my bad. The Cyclones are also going to be nice offensively in those medevacs. So here's what I was thinking of too. But yeah, they're the much safer option, and he does manage to just hold on, let those Vladibos die.
That's fine.
It's fine, it's not so bad. And then the medevac, not only, I mean, he's got the starport unit at all, right? So they can take out the Overlord on the high ground. But again, also trying to go across the map and do something. I mean, Queens are pretty good early game defense, but, they do get locked on and also killed like anything else. So it can be very annoying. Dark did end up having to delay what would have been a third base eventually, but just by a little bit as his Link took out the engineering bay. And that's only like 25% done there. I think a bunch more gases too. You can see him transfer into something even nastier, but Special, there's that push.
Yep, Special going to come across the map. I mean, obviously Dark didn't lose any fighting units across the map, so he still has a lot to defend with. But this is 2 Cyclones. Marines do pretty well in this stage of the game as well, especially supported by a medevac. So this counter could put this third into some real danger. Locks onto it initially. Again, you still got to fight these Roaches and Ravagers, though.
Right, which, yeah, if like half of these units have died on the offensive in a failed push, like it is very, very different. But this might just be enough. The Queens do not have any transfuses yet, and there's still always that option of just staying off of creep, because the third base isn't done. You can also just pick up into the medevac. The Cyclones, if they get lock-ons on the hatchery, and he's so focused on this, that could also be a problem, but he is splitting as well as he can. 2 Cyclones looking to take on 2 Ravagers, barely not getting that last one, but the Marines drop on top of it. I think that one will survive, especially because transfuses are prepared, but Special really trying to get some value here. Yeah,
this is actually all thanks to that medevac, right? Because this medevac allowed the threat to go into the main, and great defense by Doc, already sending Zerglings into position. But even better by Special, then go back and see what else he can get on the Cyclones on the third base, and then obviously using the medevac to bring the Marines back in. It's nice to get a couple kills, nice to save the Cyclones too. They can still be used for a couple of harassing purposes as Doc finally pushes this back. Special down 17 workers, 18 workers, but he's got a third CC coming up. I'm not all out of hope for Special right now. What is interesting is maybe the lack of upgrades altogether.
Yeah, no one getting upgrades. We finally have Evolution Chambers on the way for Dark, but yeah, the upgrades were a little delayed as he was microing perhaps. Didn't have enough gas, actually, I think was what the issue was. But starts up the 1-1. Getting his gas, getting his third CC. It is going into that mid game, but Dark, pointedly not going for a Baneling Nest. He is sticking on Roaches once again. Perhaps just favorable to that last game. He's like, that worked. Let's try something like that again.
Yep, just going to go straight into this here. Does Dark only have 1 Evolution Chamber?
That's he got 2.
He got 2, he's just not saw the cow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just because he had the money ready to go, right? So, yeah, 1-1 Roaches again. I mean, theoretically, this map should be a little bit harder to make those 1-1 Roaches work, because fair enough, you take that forward third base on Trident, it is forward, right? It does invite the Roach attack a little bit. It's hard to get all the tanks in safe positions. That should be less of an issue here on Eternal Empire. This very safe 3 base. And obviously, I think, as Special realizes what's going on, maybe you get a couple bunkers added this time, and that can make a world of difference as well.
Yeah, the maps are just so different, guys. Like, there's only a 1-second rush difference between the 2 maps you're talking about, but then because you expand forward on Triton, it just reduces that so much, whereas Eternal is actually really a lot about defending. We see a lot of those longer, drawn-out mech games on this map, although this obviously is bio. And I really feel like, yeah, Dark would be remiss to actually go for the 1-1 push. So we have an Infestation Pit, we have a Baneling Nest, we have the future in mind. Because, yeah, I don't think it would have worked out nearly as well.
Yep, he's absolutely right to play a similar style, but change it up, right? And that similar start off of like 1-1 Roach Ravager can sell Special on it being something it isn't, maybe, and then maybe he over-defends something that isn't coming. So to think about it in the overall best of 3, it's actually quite smart by Doc. And as he said, Infestation Pit, Bane Nest, it's the next couple stages. You go into Hive, you get the Vipers out for help against the siege tanks, and probably after +1 missiles this time we do see that swap to +1 melee I talked a bit about at the start of the first game, and just go into more like a Ling Bane comp and eventually maybe into Ultras or so off that Hive tech too.
Yeah. Really looking deep into the game, but that's kind of where it's headed, you know. We might have Special do a couple of drops, but Dark is not actually doing a push. It is going to be going into the later parts of the game. So Dark grabbing another base. One thing we haven't really talked about, you know, with the early push is that creep spread. He's finally getting more creep tumors. It's actually been like 1 creep tumor per avenue, which has been slow going. Left side's actually looking pretty good, but the right side is getting a little bit scarier. And then when it does come to those drops, the drop phase or, you know, whatever, the lack of creep off to the left and right can be where the drops suddenly do a lot of damage. But that's still a little far off. Special is playing with that bio marine tank composition right now. He is starting to slowly trickle in those Marauders. He wants to do a push, but I'm not sure if it's actually going to go so well. This 2-2 was also delayed by a good like 40 seconds, I want to say.
Forgot his armory for a little while, which is just the difference of him being like ahead on the +2 armor upgrade right now. And again, obviously that creates a timing for you as well. By the time you 2-2 push here, you pretty much have Vipers with energy as Dark, right? If he builds them right away, if that's his goal of the Hive. And there are the first 2 Vipers starting up, so feels pretty tough. His Special just hanging around off the edge of creep, and pretty much as far as he can go. There's a lot of aggressive mid-tier units here from Dark, and this is the best you can do, just trade while there's no Baneling speed.
Yeah, as long as there's no Baneling speed. I mean, more power to you if your micro is good, which Special so far is on top of that. He has a drop to the right where there's, again, no creep spread, so it starts to panic Dark maybe a little bit, but very quick response, and he's still holding strong on the defensive here. I feel like he recognizes this push isn't really something that can actually push into him. You know, it's a push, but not really. And if he just stays smart, he can deal with it, and I think that is absolutely true. The Vipers should be collecting juice right now. And that might actually be a trigger for him if he thinks he can go for it.
Yeah, the Viper's absolutely going to change what Special can do in the game as well, because immediately you just, you shut down your first couple patches of tanks and it's like, you get swarmed so hard. You lose that splash damage, and right now those tanks are so stacked up as well. Blinding Clouds could be amazing. Special thinks he's safe just off the edge of creep, but absolutely needing to be careful right now. He's already transitioning, by the way, ready for the Ultras into Liberators. So I like that. Special seems to know where this game is at.
Yeah. I mean, keeping the pressure up when you are doing such a dedicated build here, 8 barracks, now pumping in those Marauders, now finishing the 2-2, and it was a little bit late. You keep up the pressure. Maybe Dark has made those macro mistakes. Maybe he was so panicked about this he didn't make the Vipers. But I believe he did. We just haven't seen him on the front lines yet. And so far his drops also have not found, too much damage either. But there is still now something, if the Vipers do not get those amazing blinding clouds, then Special with that 2-2 could maybe take a very good fight. He saw the Vipers. He should be at least trying to split his tanks behind this, but right now splitting the bio as he cleans up the creep spread.
It's actually kind of interesting, right? Because he was able to hold that fort, because right now we see Dark is going to go in for this from the bottom left and the bottom right. Swarming through, the Vipers hit the first blinding cloud now. A couple of abducts on the Liberators as well. Takes away a lot of the damage, which he otherwise doesn't have a way to deal with. But all of the Vipers die in this fight, and Special makes a great haul.
That was just a long, drawn-out fight, actually. Like, Dark did not get a pounce on that creep spread as you would want as a Zerg player, but rather long, drawn out. Probably didn't realize how many tanks were quite far back. There was a depth of tanks that make those Vipers just a little bit less impactful, especially if they have to also take out Liberators. So that was a great defense, but Special, he takes a couple of Banelings to the face. Dark was going after those tanks as well, but he's got a lot left over. Medivacs are very dry. That could impact the game, or more so impacting the game. Certainly as a sling run by, Special's already on top of it. He does have a force to be reckoned with on the front lines, and there's no more Banelings. In fact, just Queen Ravager right now.
Well, the Ultras, though, are about to pop, right? And the Ultras are one of the big shutdown points of this, but Special kind of added a bit of something to help with that, being the Liberators. But there's not much to support those Liberators right now, I feel, as the Lings are going to die for this. He's going right here, and we do see one of the Libs going down, and there are the Ultras joining the fight as well, and now Dark is sweeping through this army. Special has to lift up and retreat, and he has no fourth base behind this all.
Yeah, that was fairly all in, really. It was almost cinematic, too, as the rest of the army dies. You're like, oh, can he do it? And then suddenly, not just Ultras, but those Lings forcing the evacuation, right? If it's just Ultras, you micro, you let your tanks and Liberators do something, but those Lings came in, got the surround, really shut that down. Special, I mean, he didn't look too happy about seeing that. He has one more push in him, which, again, maybe he doesn't get surrounded. Maybe he has great micro stutter step. He can make something happen here, but Dark might just be running away with this game.
Yeah, Special is, when he's coming forwards again, he has to make something happen because, again, no fourth base, etc. As he gets pushed back here, Dark has a counterattack on the third base as well, so Dark doesn't have to commit through and completely kill this. And right now, there's more Lings than before, a lot of depots going down, and at the same time, the Ultras are back on the fight, and Special just seems to be losing absolutely everywhere on Eternal Empire. GG.